Ford's Raptor R has 720 horsepower, but Ram just brought back the TRX with a 777. That's 57 more horsepower and 40 more pound-feet of torque. And Ram claims its new TRX SRT can hit 60 miles per hour in just 3.5 seconds. But here's the problem. More horsepower doesn't automatically make a better off-road truck, because the Raptor R fights back with bigger tires, more ground clearance, and serious desert-running hardware. So which one actually deserves the crown? Welcome back to AutoMaster Drive. Today, we're putting two of America's most extreme factory-built off-road trucks head-to-head. The 2027 Ram 1500 TRX SRT versus the Ford F-150 Raptor R. One comes back with a 777 horsepower supercharged HEMI V8. The other brings Ford's 720 horsepower supercharged V8. We're comparing power, acceleration, suspension, tires, off-road capability, technology, interior, price, and real-world value. And by the end, we'll find out whether Ram's extra horsepower is enough to take down Ford. The return of the TRX. The TRX disappeared after the 2024 model year, and for a while, the Raptor R had the supertruck battlefield almost to itself. Then, Ram brought the TRX back, but this time, it returned under the SRT name. And Ram didn't simply bring back the old 702 horsepower formula. It turned the 6.2-liter supercharged HEMI V8 up to 777 horsepower. That makes the new TRX more powerful than the Raptor R on paper. And suddenly, this rivalry is alive again. 777 horsepower versus 720 horsepower. Let's talk about the numbers that started this war. The TRX SRT produces 777 horsepower and 640 pound-feet of torque. The Raptor R produces 720 horsepower and 640 pound-feet. So Ram wins both headline power figures. The difference is 57 horsepower and 40 pound-feet of torque. Both trucks use supercharged V8 engines, but they're very different power plants. Ram uses a 6.2-liter supercharged HEMI V8. Ford uses a supercharged 5.2-liter V8. And when it comes to straight-line bragging rights, Ram has the bigger number. Which one is faster? Now comes the question everybody wants answered. Which truck is actually faster? Ram claims the TRX SRT can reach 60 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds. Ram also lists a 10-second 0 to 100 time and a 12.2-second quarter mile. That's serious performance for something this large. Edmunds previously tested the Raptor R at 4.0 seconds to 60. So if Ram's 3.5-second claim holds up under independent testing, the TRX should have the straight-line advantage. But there's an important distinction. Ram's figure is a manufacturer claim. The Ford number comes from independent testing. So we won't pretend those numbers are a perfectly controlled head-to-head test. But on paper, Ram has the advantage. The Raptor R fights back. This is where the Raptor R becomes much more interesting, because Ford didn't build the Raptor R simply to win a drag race. The Raptor R is engineered around high-speed off-road driving, and one of its biggest advantages is sitting underneath the body. The Ford rides on massive 37-inch tires. The TRX uses 35-inch tires. That extra tire size gives the Ford an advantage when attacking rough terrain. The Raptor R also has about 13.1 inches of ground clearance. The TRX has 11.8 inches. So suddenly, the horsepower advantage isn't the whole story. Suspension and desert performance. Both trucks use sophisticated long-travel suspension systems designed to absorb brutal terrain. Ram uses Bilstein Blackhawk E2 adaptive performance shocks. Ford uses Fox adaptive shock technology. Both are designed to control massive suspension movement while keeping the truck composed at high speed. But the philosophy is slightly different. The Raptor R's 37-inch tires and greater ground clearance give it an advantage when the terrain gets extremely rough. The TRX answers with its own long travel suspension, four-wheel drive, and adaptive terrain management. So this isn't a simple knockout. It's a battle between two different approaches to the same crazy idea.
The off-road question. Here's where things get really interesting. If you're flying across desert whoops at high speed, tire size, ground clearance, suspension travel, and vehicle control can matter more than another 50 horsepower. And that's where the Raptor R has a legitimate argument. The Ford's 37-inch tires give it more clearance underneath the truck. The Ram counters with 35-inch tires, up to 14 inches of rear axle travel, and its Bilstein Blackhawk E2 system. So if your priority is maximum off-road hardware, Ford deserves serious credit. But if you're looking for the most brutal combination of power and off-road capability, Ram has made its argument much stronger.
Technology and interior. These trucks aren't stripped-down desert racers. Inside, they're surprisingly luxurious. The TRX comes with leather appointments, carbon fiber trim, heated, ventilated, and massaging front seats, and a 19-speaker Harman Kardon audio system. It also gets a 14.5-inch touchscreen and hands-free active drive assist. The Raptor R brings its own premium cabin, digital displays, and Ford's technology suite. But Ram has pushed the TRX further into luxury territory. So if you're spending nearly 6 figures on an off-road truck, you're not giving up comfort to get performance. Price and value. Now let's talk about the number that can change everything. The 2027 Ram TRX SRT starts at $99,995 before the $2,795 destination charge. That's important because this is a 777 horsepower supercharged V8 truck. Ford's current Raptor R has historically been positioned above the TRX in price, but Ford has not yet released official 2027 Raptor R pricing, so we're not going to invent a number. What we can say is this: Ram has positioned the new TRX aggressively against Ford, and if the Raptor R continues to command a significant premium, the TRX could become the more interesting horsepower per dollar proposition.
Who should buy which? So who should actually buy these trucks? If you want maximum horsepower, straight-line performance, and the most outrageous power number, the TRX SRT is the obvious choice. 777 horsepower is difficult to ignore. If your priority is high-speed desert driving, bigger tires, and maximum ground clearance, the Raptor R has a very strong argument. The Ford's 37-inch tires and off-road geometry make it a serious desert weapon. And if you want the best combination of luxury, technology, and extreme performance, both trucks deliver far more than a normal pickup ever could. So which super truck wins? The Ram TRX SRT wins the horsepower battle. It wins the torque battle. And based on Ram's claimed acceleration, it should have the straight-line advantage. But the Raptor R fights back with bigger tires, more ground clearance, and a very serious high-speed off-road setup. So here's my take. If you want the most horsepower and the most ridiculous straight-line performance, take the TRX SRT. If you care more about desert-running hardware and maximum clearance, the Raptor R remains extremely difficult to beat. But overall, the new TRX SRT has done exactly what Ram needed it to do. It has made the super truck war interesting again. Now, I want to know what you would choose. The 777 horsepower Ram TRX SRT or the 720 horsepower Ford Raptor R? Tell me your pick in the comments. And if you want more deep comparisons between the world's most extreme cars, SUVs, and trucks, subscribe to AutoMaster Drive. Because the future of the automobile isn't coming someday. It's already starting.